Every month, shocking and disturbing crimes come to light from different parts of the world. Some look like accidents until the truth slowly begins to surface. Tonight, we're diving into some of the most chilling true crime mysteries connected to February 2026. Stories of secrets, lies, and crimes that took years to uncover. These are the strange and scary mysteries of the month. The accident that wasn't on a warm summer evening, August 6, 2013. Everything seemed normal for 49-year-old Melissa Recuba. She had just returned home to Simpson, Pennsylvania, after dinner with her husband of nearly 25 years, Bruno. They had built a life together, raised 2 daughters, and were now enjoying their years as a close family. But within minutes of walking through their front door, everything changed. A 911 call came in. Bruno reported that his wife had been shot. Their daughter, who lived next door, rushed inside after hearing the news. What she saw was something no child should ever witness. Melissa was lying unresponsive in the bedroom, suffering from a gunshot wound to the head. She was airlifted to the hospital and placed on life support. Bruno himself had a gunshot injury to his hand. He told police it was a terrible accident. According to his story, he had gone to pick up a handgun from the nightstand and kept there due to recent neighborhood break-ins. He claimed the weapon accidentally fired, passing through his hand and striking Melissa. The next day, he even recreated the incident for investigators using a toy gun. At the time, the story seemed believable. Authorities ruled it a tragic accident, and no charges were filed. 4 days later, Melissa's family made the heartbreaking decision to remove her from life support. But as the weeks passed, something didn't feel right. Family members began noticing strange behavior. Bruno spent little time at the hospital, while Melissa was fighting for her life. He asked his daughters to clean the blood-soaked bedroom and throw away the mattress. He even gave away Melissa's beloved dog. Then, only months after her death, he began a relationship with another woman, who soon moved into the family home. The shock slowly turned into suspicion. For years, nothing changed. Then in 2020, nearly 7 years later, state police reopened the case. This time, investigators reviewed evidence that had never been properly examined, including home security audio from the night of the shooting. What they heard changed everything. The couple had been arguing intensely right after entering the house. There was shouting, anger, and objects being thrown. Forensic analysis also revealed blood patterns that didn't match Bruno's version of events. Experts concluded that an accidental discharge was extremely unlikely. The case that was once considered a tragedy now looked very different. In June 2022, nearly 9 years after Melissa's death, Bruno was arrested. Facing trial, he eventually accepted a plea deal, admitting that his reckless actions caused her death. In January 2025, he was sentenced to 12 to 40 years in prison. A case once dismissed as an accident had finally revealed the truth years later through evidence that had been there all along. The au pair affair on the morning of February 24, 2023. Police were called to a quiet home in Fairfax County, Virginia. Inside, they discovered a brutal and disturbing scene. Christine Banfield, a pediatric intensive care nurse and mother of 2, had been stabbed multiple times. She did not survive. In an upstairs bedroom, officers found the body of another man, 39-year-old Joseph Ryan, who had been shot. There were no signs of forced entry. Even more chilling, the couple's young daughter was inside the home, unharmed. Christine's husband, Brendan Banfield, told investigators that an intruder had attacked his wife, and that he shot the man in self-defense. But the story quickly began to fall apart. As detectives dug deeper, they uncovered a disturbing secret. Brendan had been involved in an affair with the family's au pair. Investigators believe the two had planned an elaborate scheme to murder Christine and make it look like a violent attack by a stranger. According to prosecutors, Brendan created a fake online profile pretending to be his wife. Through that profile, he lured Joseph Ryan to the home under false pretenses. The plan was simple: stage the scene so that Joseph would appear to be the attacker. Then Brendan could claim self-defense. But the crime scene raised immediate red flags. Under pressure, the au pair eventually pleaded guilty to a lesser charge and agreed to testify against Brendan. Still, he denied that any murder plot existed. At trial, prosecutors presented digital messages, forensic evidence, and analysis suggesting the scene had been carefully staged. After nearly 9 hours of deliberation, the jury found Brendan Banfield guilty on multiple counts, including aggravated murder. He now faces life in prison without parole. What looked like a random act of violence turned out to be a calculated betrayal. The Roblox sisters in early 2026. A terrifying situation unfolded in Indiantown, Florida, one that began in a place millions of children visit every day. Online, in the spring of 2025, two sisters, ages 12 and 15, started talking to someone they met while playing Roblox, a popular gaming world where kids build, play, and socialize. At first, the conversation seemed harmless, just friendly chats while playing games. But over time, the messages became more personal. Then the communication moved to Snapchat, a platform known for private, disappearing messages. Investigators would later describe what happened next as classic online grooming. The suspect built trust, he created an emotional connection, and slowly, he manipulated the girls into believing he was someone they could trust. But this wasn't just an online friendship. Police say the suspect, a 19-year-old but earlier that week, a family member had taken away their phone as punishment for something unrelated. A decision that may have prevented something far worse. Without their phones, the girls switched to a family tablet to continue messaging. Then, on the evening of January 31, 2026, they disappeared. When deputies searched their devices, they recovered the conversation and discovered the suspects to take them out of state. A multi-state search began immediately. Within hours, Georgia State Patrol located the vehicle. Inside, both sisters were found safe and unharmed. Authorities called it a narrowly avoided tragedy. The suspect was arrested and now faces multiple charges, including kidnapping. The case serves as a chilling reminder of a modern danger. Today's predators don't hide in dark alleys. Sometimes they hide behind a screen. The long road to justice. Molly Bish on June 27, 2016. Year. Old Molly Bish left home for what should have been a normal summer day. She was working as a lifeguard at a quiet public pond in Warren, Massachusetts. But by midday, Molly had vanished. Her belongings were still at the lifeguard stand. Her car was untouched. There were no signs of a struggle. Just gone. 3 days before her disappearance, several witnesses had noticed a suspicious man sitting in a white car, watching Molly. Police released a composite sketch, and for years, it became one of the most recognized images in New England. But despite thousands of tips, no one was ever identified. Then, 3 years later, in 2003, a hunter discovered skeletal remains in a wooded area about 5 miles from the pond. Dental records confirmed the family's worst fear. It was Molly. Her death was ruled a homicide, but the case remained unsolved. Over the years, Investigators examined multiple suspects, including convicted serial killer Gary Lee Sampson. But no evidence linked him to the crime. Still, Molly's family never stopped searching for answers. Her mother became a public advocate, organizing searches and keeping the case in the spotlight. Then, in 2024, nearly 24 years later, authorities returned to the area where her remains were found. Using modern forensic technology, including advanced DNA testing and ground-penetrating radar, investigators began a new search. Officials say the renewed effort is based on new leads, not just a routine review. After decades of silence, there is finally movement again. Because for Molly's family, justice delayed is still justice worth fighting for. The vanishing of Nancy, one of the most shocking cases of 2026, began quietly in a peaceful neighborhood in Tucson, Arizona. On the night of January 31, 2026, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was last seen at her home. By the next morning, she was gone. Nancy was the mother of Savannah Guthrie, co-anchor of today's show. Family members became worried when she missed her regular church service. When deputies entered the home, they immediately sensed something was wrong. Her phone, wallet, keys, and medication were all left behind. For someone her age, dependent on daily medication, this wasn't a voluntary disappearance. Investigators also found signs of possible forced entry. Even more concerning, small drops of blood were discovered in and around the home. The case was quickly treated as a criminal investigation. Nancy was mentally sharp and physically limited, making it unlikely she wandered away on her own. As the search expanded, a disturbing development emerged. A possible ransom note was sent to a local news station, containing details about Nancy and her home. Authorities have not confirmed its authenticity, and several fake notes have already been reported. The FBI has joined the investigation. Meanwhile, Savannah Guthrie stepped away from her television duties to support her family, publicly asking for compassion and proof that her mother is safe. At the time of this report, Nancy has not been found. For investigators and her family, this case is now a race against time. Outro and those were the strange and disturbing mysteries of February 2026. Cases that remind us how quickly lives can change, how long the truth can take to surface, and how some questions remain unanswered. If you found this episode interesting, don't forget to subscribe to the Motivation Hub for more real stories, mysteries, and deep dive investigations. Stay aware, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.